Well, they can't hear you until I turn that up. So now you can say it.
We're live!
Oh.
Live from Newburgh.
It's
Friday night.
City.
Hello, everyone.
Night. Hello,
Thank
everybody.
you for joining tonight.
Welcome.
And
Welcome.
Paul is spiking his coffee, and we're going to do a fun painting. You have this set here, Paul.
Don't?
I know you wanted...
No.
Okay.
Get it. Yeah, we lost somebody already.
So tonight we are doing a very whimsical painting. I wanted to do something that was pretty easy. I know we've been doing some more detailed stuff lately, and I like to throw in some easier ones
Boy, I'm
once
blind.
in a
I
while.
don't have my right glasses with me tonight.
Do you need help
No.
clicking things?
No, we're good.
So let's go ahead and zoom in on the painting, and we'll
Let's
talk
do it.
about what we're doing.
You guys, I feel so
Hi,
bad.
Marlene. It's funny. We had one person on at first, and I was like, I know that's Marlene.
We,
and yes,
it feels like
you.
it's been
you.
so long since we've live streamed.
Yeah, I think it's partly because we had Christmas and and New Year's, and even though it hasn't actually been a super long time since we live stream, it feels definitely like it has been a while, a hot second. So
yeah,
let's talk about the painting real quick. Let me move some stuff around.
let's do it.
So this is, I called it Moonlit Magnolias, and those of you who are on our Facebook group page, Palette Knives Out, probably saw that some of you may have seen that I was inspired by some poppies I put in the background of a painting recently, and I thought, those are kind of shaped like magnolias, and I'd been wanting to do a magnolia painting and have tried before, and I just didn't like the way mine were turning out, and I think it was because I was trying too hard to make them realistic. And flowers can be very difficult to paint realistically. So I did painterly flowers with a whimsical touch, and they're outlined, which makes them very fun, and have a fun background color that's not necessarily a natural color you see in the sky. So it all just kind of lends itself to this very whimsical flower painting. So let's go ahead and talk about colors.
Let's do it.
Just our primary colors in black and white. I know that's what we've been using a lot lately, and part of the reason for that is we know you can mix just about any color, and these are colors that a lot of people have on hand when you keep supplies at home. So brushes, just 4 brushes is what we're using, our standard number 4, number 8, number 2, and then this 3/4 inch, but just a selection of different brush sizes. You don't have to have those exact ones at all. We're going to start by, we mix this sort of deep teal with some blue paint color. I'm going to wedge this in here. This feels like it's a little too low. Hold on one second. I'm just adjusting this easel where I keep the painting. Okay. So let's mix up a color to start. And to make a deep teal, we need to mix blue and yellow. Probably more blue than yellow, and then we'll put in a little white into it to bring in some opacity, and then we will also make a pale blue to sweep into the background as well. So I'm going to take my biggest brush, go ahead and dip it in your water cup, brush it around on the bottom, kind of wake those bristles up.
I'm awake now.
Wake up! It's Friday night!
The top of my head feels like bristles.
Yeah, you have a fresh haircut today.
There's not much left when I get it cut.
There is not, especially on the top.
Although my barber was saying there's some kind of shampoo that works really well to help regrow hair.
We tried that.
No, it's a different one.
Okay.
And he said not only that, if you have gray hair, it actually starts to like.
What?
Yeah.
Sign me up for that.
And it's a bar. I'm gonna have to.
I have heard shampoo bars are somehow supposedly good for reversing gray, but I struggle to believe that. We'll see. Magic.
Any dollar value.
Okay, so I'm going to put this on top of here and mix the paint. I'll scrape a little yellow aside, and then about double the amount of blue just to start. Beautiful color there. I just love these deep teal like this. And we'll probably have to mix more and more, but this is a sort of multi-toned background, so don't worry if you have slightly different colors every time. Let's grab a little white. We don't want to lighten it too much. We just want to up the opacity, so it's just a tiny bit of white. Unless you want to do a different background color, because this would be pretty with a very pale sagey background too.
Daniel says chat's not working for him. He messaged me. So
Marlene, is chat working for you? Are you able to? I guess we'll know. If we don't get a chat message back.
let me see if it's something in the settings.
So let's go ahead and sweep a little bit of this color on here. I think I'm going to start over here. My goal here is I want to knock off the excess paint off my brush so that I'm not wasting a ton of paint. Brush strokes are just sort of all choppy.
Okay, Marlene says it's fine.
Okay, wash the brush. And we're going to make a light blue. You don't have to like have every last little scrap of paint out of your brush either.
Hey,
let's scrape off some blue.
Susan.
Hey, Susan. And so I'm making a light blue like that. I think I will throw a touch of this color in there. Just a little. And I'm going to take this color and just sweep it on top of this. The moon is going to go up here in the upper right corner unless you decide to put it somewhere else. So I'll go back to my dark teal. Our background is going to be a mix of these colors. Every once in a while you can go rogue and wild and throw some plain old dark blue on there and sort of blend it in loosely. So you get some dark patches once in a while just for fun. Add some interest to your background. I try not to overblend those. I do like having some of the little shapes that pop up. Feels very dark because you raised up that light.
It could just be, could be because it's a different camera.
Oh, that's weird. It's like really blurry down there. You don't have your right glasses on though, so you can't see.
What's really blurry? Yeah, let's not talk about it too much. Like it's embarrassing.
All right, get some light blue on there again. And keep working your way through the canvas. This way, occasionally throwing in some of those dark blue patches. I'm not using super thick paint, but having that little bit of white mixed in added a nice bit of opacity, so I'm getting good coverage on the canvas. Probably getting close to time to mix more paint. Make sure you rest your hand a little. Take a sip. We decided to go through, get coffee on our way here through a drive-through and add some fun stuff to it. So I've got, I have, let's see, drinking a latte with Chambord in it. Chambord is a blackcurrant liqueur. It's so good. We usually just save it up in the cupboard and use it at Christmas. We mix it with champagne for Christmas breakfast. And it'll take us like a good year, maybe 2 years to go through a bottle. But tonight I was like, you know, we don't really have much of anything in the house. Let's grab the Chambord. And I'll tell you, it's really good. Blackcurrant liquor mixed in with a latte is yummy. Not complaining. Doing good? What are you doing there, Paul?
I'm trying to fix the chat.
Oh, I thought it was fixed.
No.
It's just fixed for Marlene.
Yeah.
I had a request from Jen, who has been painting with us forever, to do a restyling, well, not a restyling, but I will probably restyle it, a snowy Starry Night painting. And I think I might do that for February, even though I know we're getting out of the snow. Well, actually, here in Oregon, February is the month that it is most likely to snow, but I know a lot of you, probably by February, you're so sick of it. But it is a really pretty painting and fun to do, so I might do that next month, unless I'm suddenly hit with some inspiration to do something else. But I still will do it again sometime if I don't do it next month. So I remixed some paint a couple times.
I'll catch up, don't worry.
All colors. Scoot that up so I'm on camera still.
Oh, my mouse is on camera.
Hopefully everyone had great holidays. And they just come up and just turbo their way through and gone, and suddenly you're almost to February. And February is a big month for us because we have landmark birthdays, both of us.
Jenny is turning 25.
And Paula's turning 50. It's crazy how that works.
It's amazing.
But also Paul is starring as Polonius in Hamlet, and so he's been,
there's that too.
He's been working hard on studying Shakespearean lines, which are so different from the way we talk normally here.
Yeah, it's kind of a little bit Yoda, sentence structure-wise.
And it's one of those things that you can't really ad-lib because it's a language that is very different. So you can't just throw an extra thee or thou or...
you could try, and you would just probably look like a fool.
So yeah, a lot of the paragraphs of monologue that he has to do, like, we try to make sense of it and decipher it. You can actually look at Cliff's Notes online.
Well, there's a couple of translation pages,
yeah.
But I feel like the translation pages are...
That's how Greta and I got through Julius Caesar for
yeah, but
10th grade.
I feel like they don't quite do it right. You know, I mean, it doesn't quite... Yeah.
What are you doing?
You're
still working on the same?
Yeah, I'm trying to fix the chat. It's not working. We're still here. January has flown by. It's true.
I see, though, some of the states that don't normally have snow are getting snow. Georgia, New Orleans, Florida. We have friends who live in Pensacola, and they showed a picture on Facebook of their house, and there was so much snow, I couldn't believe it. That's fun, though. I mean, as long as you don't have to go anywhere. They're probably not used to plowing roads down there. So I remixed one last little batch of paint, and it's really green compared to everything else. So I'm actually just going to sweep some of that in there. Wherever I feel. So when you're done, it kind of looks like you have a high school backdrop for yearbook photos. Doesn't it kind of look like that, Paul?
It does, kind of like from 1991.
Yeah, exactly. You know, we're all painting glamour shots tonight. Just adding a little more light blue in there for fun. For funsies, and I've got some left over, and I thought maybe some light parts in here wouldn't hurt too much. This is a painting that would look really pretty with some gold leaf on it, or metal leaf, which you can buy super cheap from Michael's or even Amazon. You can use Mod Podge to adhere it to the canvas, or you can buy the metal leaf glue that they sell. But I think it's probably not all that different than Mod Podge. And what I would do is use the glue. Now this is optional. It's just an idea. I'm going to do it on another painting I have at home. You would paint whatever your glue or Mod Podge on, paint it in the leaf shape, fill it in, and then put your sheet of gold foil on top, and then brush it with a dry brush on top so that it adheres to that. And let it dry for a while, and then you can brush away the excess gold leaf, and you'll be left with a little leaf shape. I don't know if it'll end up being a perfect leaf shape, but you can always re-outline it.
All right, Daniel, I'm sorry. I tried. Once the stream is started, the settings are the settings.
Well, you could probably go off for a second and reload if you want.
No, because then, that would restart the whole thing and...
be awkward.
Yeah. So...
That's so weird. So it's working for some people.
Yeah.
Are you sure it's on our end, or is it Daniel's end?
I don't know.
Right.
I do know I'm getting hungry.
Well, we got a little bit. This painting should go pretty fast.
We have not
compared to Paul's painting.
We have not had a single snowflake this year.
No, it's been really sunny, but we had a really wet December and November.
Oh, I meant like this winter.
Yeah.
Not specifically 2025. Like usually we've had at least a little bit, like a light dusting.
We swear though, and we might sound like nuts, but when there was that big earthquake in Indonesia in 2006?
7?
6.
Yeah.
Christmas 2006. It was almost 2007. We swear it tilted the Earth's axis.
No, it did.
Axis.
We don't swear it like that.
Okay, it actually
scientifically happened.
Okay.
Yes.
And our winter comes later than usual.
Yep. Since then.
Mm-hmm.
No, it tilted by I think 6 degrees. Or
That's insane.
6/10 of a degree or something.
That's insane. I don't even remember what the scale of that earthquake was. It a 9 something?
It was pretty big.
So crazy.
This canvas is so warped, it's impossible to paint on.
Susan in New Hampshire for 2 years this March, moved from California. I do remember that. I have 2 friends moving to New Hampshire. One is moving to a place called Lebanon, I think. Their daughter is, their last one graduated from high school, and she's going to school over there, and they're not tied to jobs or anything because her husband works, my friend's husband works online, or, remote. And so they are moving over there. Well, their daughter goes to school somewhere, but I don't remember.
She has not graduated yet, though.
No, it's going to be in the fall.
Yeah.
And then another friend of ours is in a relationship, and the guy lives over there, and she's moving over there too. So funny. Okay, so we're going to start talking about painting the stem now. I might actually have us, I'm going to have us sketch the moon on first, because it's totally okay if the moon color mixes with this background color. Oh, there's Daniel. It works.
Wow.
Love to move to Vermont and be part of the new show. Oh, yeah, Lebanon, so it's an hour away from you. That's cool.
We have a Lebanon in Oregon.
We do. We do. So let's pick up one of our flat brushes. It doesn't matter if you're using your number 4 or your number 8. Looking at mine, the number 4 here is really frayed. And so I'll probably use my number 8. And dip the tip of the bristles in some white. And then you can trace a round shape, like you could trace your cup. Like I could just pop that on there. I think I'm going to do that. I don't normally do that, but just to show you that you can do that. Or like some kind of soda can or anything. So that you have a little half moon shape, sort of. I was going to say quarter moon, but that's a lot larger than a quarter moon. And then I'm just going to give it a loose, light little fill in. It's all going to turn sort of a pale greenish. That's totally fine. We put more color on top. And I'm using sort of choppy brush strokes. I do want to try to end up with some darker patches in this so that they can become craters later. Craters later?
Later crater.
Later. And you can soften the edge of this too, so it's more of a glowy, one of those nights where the moon is real hazy. I love those. You have some very bright spots on there and some dark spots.
Nights in white satin.
Did you see what Daniel just said?
No, what?
If you saw my yearbook cover, it matches exactly what color your background is right now. I don't know if you saw it. Yeah, you were on here when you heard us talking about the yearbook.
I'll tell you what. My rum sat right at the top.
Woohoo! You got a whole mouthful of Myers rum.
Yeah, I mean, it's okay. It just
you don't have anything here to stir things in with, so mine's just sort of floating there too. Okay, so the moon is very dark right now. It's kind of that greenish color. Again, don't worry about it. We're going to move along. Susan, I want to know, because you went from California to New Hampshire, do you like the weather better in one state over the other? Just out of curiosity. I dream of moving to the East Coast sometimes because I really like it over there. The only thing is people have told me the bugs are really bad in summer.
Depends on where you're at, but
yeah.
the northern part, yeah.
But it just is so pretty over there. Okay, so let's go ahead now and mix up our shade. So or branch shade. It's just a branch magnolias on it. And it is actually dark indigo blue. I mixed 3 colors to come up with this color. First, I made deep purple, deep violet with, I'm just using my number 8 brush. And then some red, about equal parts. Maybe, if anything, a little more blue than red. So we want to make a blue-based purple. Here, I'll kind of scribble that out so you can kind of see the color.
No, we are
very violet.
In the home studio yet.
Not yet, nope.
We're close, though.
Hard to complain about California weather, but we love having seasons. Yeah. Where in California did you live? Not been above freezing here for 2 weeks. Whew. It's only cold if you go outside. I'm mixing some black in here, too. So you want your color to definitely be very dark, almost black, but it's definitely has a bluish tint to it. Ah, near Sacramento. Yeah, I've been down there.
I have family not far from Redding. We'll call it Redding.
Yeah.
Actually, my dad grew up in Crescent City, so. And I've got family from Redding to Wairika and Eureka and Crescent City.
Okay, so we are going to start the branch, and I'll pull this over again. The branches on magnolia trees they're pretty kind of curly, twisty, aggressive. They go great with the whole the flowers and the leaves. Like you guys probably know what they look like in spring when you just have flowers and very few leaves. It's such a gorgeous tree. But I do love the way the branches grow kind of twisty and almost looks like a Halloween tree. So at first we are going to paint it sort of Halloweenish, like it looks like we're painting some kind of spooky tree. But once you get the flowers on there, it will not be spooky. I'm going to have us start with the main branch. It's going to come up and sort of curve across, and then we're going to split off into this great big Y here. And that's going to form the main part of our branch. And then we'll come in and create some of these other splits, what will allow us to have lots and lots of flowers. So I want you to find the lower right corner of your canvas and pop in about a half an inch, make a mark, and come up. And I'm just holding my brush kind of far back so it can purposely be wobbly. So if you've drank a lot of coffee, this is a great time to paint this painting. So see how I'm making it purposely wobbly? We will make this thicker down here after we get it established. So I'm aiming up towards this upper corner. Like this branch is growing up this way. It's morning sun there, I guess. I'm sort of purposely, every once in a while, pulling my hand around to make it twisty.
I'm almost done with my background.
Great. And then right about here, I'm going to do a big shift. It's going to come up towards the moon, sort of, and then maybe curl in this way just a bit. I'm not going so far up that I don't have room to, like, I don't want to crowd the flowers at the top. So if you have gone up a little bit too high, don't worry about it. We can actually just, you can drop the flowers down. Everything's up there is going to be painted over, so it would be pretty easy to paint your flowers where you want them and cover the excess stem up with the flower color. So I think right here, I'm using the thin edge of my number 8 brush. Sorry, I don't know if I had mentioned that. Right here, I'm going to off this way. There's a good spot for another flower. And if you need to switch down to your number 4 for a thinner branch, feel free to do that. Or even this little guy. I always want to tell people to use what brush feels comfortable, because what feels comfortable to you might be different than what feels good in my hand. So now I'm going to thicken this up a little bit. I'm just going to come over maybe 1/4 of an inch and parallel this up until I get right up about here. I'm going to join the two together. And now I've got this spot to fill in. Do that real quick. And let's see. Next one that comes off this way. The rest of the branches I put on are going to be not super long, because we want to make sure we have room to put the flowers on there. So like up here I have 3, then I have 1 here. Right here I have a little bud, so you can do a short little guy. And then over here I have, let's see, I have another flower down here. It's going to come off this way, and the flower goes right there. And then one more flower is going to be small, and it just comes off right here. And then we'll come back in and we'll fill in with some little branches with leaves. But let's start with this. So we have an area to paint in our main flowers. Most of them are decent size, but there are a couple small ones that are just starting to form.
Is that the moon in the top corner?
Yeah.
Okay, just checking.
And I traced my cup, but you've got a, yeah, there you go. Okay, so to draw the flowers on, I probably would recommend you use either your number 2 brush, the little round one, or whatever you got at home that's small, or the number 4, which I think I'm going to grab a new one. Actually, you might have mine. Yes. Why do you keep taking my brushes?
I didn't take it.
Yours
I haven't even used them.
So here I've got one it's okay. It's been used a lot, but it'll work great for this. And let's start with a relatively easy flower. So each of these has a little, kind of a little V shape, and then I put one in the middle, so you end up with I don't know what you would call that. It's just a little bud holder.
A roach clip?
And then I do this, it's almost like a leafy shape, but this is actually going to be, it's like a fat leaf, and it's going to be the bud of a magnolia that hasn't opened yet. And I'll go right through and do sort of a curved line that meets up in the center.
Today Friday?
So you have 2 petals overlapping. Yes, you already know that. We already talked about that.
We did?
Yes. Are you okay?
I'm pretty sure I'm not. That's a mean thing to ask.
Gotta catch up here. My sister lives in San Diego. Oh, that's right. Did they have some trouble with the fires, Daniel?
Well, that's not Los Angeles.
But wasn't it down far, like
no,
that area? Okay.
It was in LA.
I don't know how far San Diego is from LA.
A couple hours. I don't know. Maybe it's gotten down to San Diego. Depends on if the arson bus made its way.
They spread so fast, and and they so Santa whatever wins down there.
Santa Ana.
Yeah, Santa Ana wins. Okay, so I'll do another one here where I do that V shape first and put one in the middle. So you've got a little bud holder. And this one's going to be one that's more open. Let me show you. So it's not quite as open as these other ones, but this is it. It's almost kind of rose shaped. We're going to do this petal and then this petal, and then we'll do the one in the middle. So starting off, let's start right on this side. I want you to come up. And the flowers of magnolias, they're kind of rounded at the top. I did make mine slightly pointy on some of these that are closed. It's okay. They don't have to be magnolias. This could be any kind of tree. And then I'm also going to start at this corner, and this one's going to come up and kind of be the same size and shape, and it's just going to cross back down to this one. So it looks like we're starting to draw a tulip. And
you know, it's funny that you say that because I feel like
that goes up high.
Magnolia flowers kind of remind me of tulips.
Do they? I like to make the top, like where the petals go, maybe sometimes a little, for the ones that face front on, a little ruffly kind of.
That was the most like courtesy do they I've ever heard in my life. What do I know? My mom only owned a florist when I was growing up.
The one that we paint down here is very similar in shape to that one, very tulip-like, and it is about a little bit smaller. So let's go ahead and make our little holder. This time I'm gonna do this first. Come down like that. And this will come down like that. I don't have to make them the same height. This one I remember now as I'm painting it, I struggled with this lower one. I had to redo it a couple times because, I don't know, I just did something funky with the shape at first. I was trying not to be super rigid. New fire that started somewhere near San Diego. Scary. They can get those under control. All right, let's do this one up here. Actually, yeah, let's do this one up here. Now that we painted a couple of these or so, we can experiment. This one is a little more open. So these two are the tulip shape. The rest of these are a little more open. And this one especially, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't have to be exactly like mine or like the original. Just whatever fits really is the main thing, because you want to not like, you can, and in fact, if you're really close to the moon, you'll want to put the petal over the moon. You don't want to stop short of it, or it will look like it was crowded and that you were trying to not overlap the moon. So if you are super close to the moon, just go ahead and overlap it. That would happen in nature. So this time, starting at the middle of this thing, going to come out. This is going to go out this way. I probably should have overlapped the moon. I'm awfully close to it. And then this one's going to go out this way. So magnolia petals, they do grow like, here's this part that holds the, it has a name. I knew it because I was doing botany studies. I just totally forgot. This thing that holds the petals to the stem. So magnolia leaves are shaped where they sort of thin right down here and then kind of balloon out. They're big and floppy. So kind of like that. Big and floppy and then narrow way down.
Kind of like the way my hair was up until
redraw this
a couple
one.
hours ago.
So if you need to redraw any of them, like I just did, just know that like the line I drew is totally going to get covered up because we coat them in white first. The holder here. Kind of sad how you forget things so easily once you get a certain age. It's like you've remembered so much in your life that, like...
Your brain's just like, I'm done with this.
Yeah.
Forget it.
So this one is definitely going to underlap. I like to make this one underlap this guy. So I'm going to have a petal that comes up here and is under.
I feel like my paint's drying fast on the
Good,
palette.
good. Got one more big one to do here. It's going to kind of point up this direction. I'm getting more dramatic with the shapes. I felt like I was maybe being a little too rigid. So you can see how I'm definitely keeping it real skinny down here.
You're keeping it real?
Keeping it real skinny. And then I've got this guy. Maybe it can be a little taller. Now on magnolias, if you look at pictures of them, there's more than just 3 petals. There's quite a few. So if you really want to put more petals in there, let's see, I'll do it right here. This is what it would look like to just tuck some little ones in the back there. I feel like the one I really need it on maybe is this one. Maybe this one.
Maybe all of them.
Maybe all of them. And now I've got this little one that is like, this is stage 1 and this is stage 2. So this is just starting to, it's opened a little bit, but it's still a youngling. It's still sort of curved inward toward, the petals are curved inward towards each other. Like a little claw, a little crab claw. Just having a look at my branch, if I've got some areas that maybe need to be a little thicker. You want everything to be thicker at the bottom and thinner up at the top. So like this branch here, if I had it really thick up here but thin down here, we don't want that. We want to thicken it up down here so it looks like it would support everything.
So our dear friend Aru popped in for just a second and Aru was in a pretty bad traffic accident right after Christmas and has had many broken bones and is recovering from surgery. So he said he's taking some painkillers and some sleeping pills and good luck.
Nice. Well, I mean, not nice about the accident, but nice that he popped in.
Yeah.
There and gone. Best of luck on your healing journey. Okay, let's see. Let's get some leaves and some thorny thingies. So these don't have thorns on them. Magnolias don't. But I do like to have some little areas where it looks like maybe a bud is going to form, especially like this kind of thing. These ones are maybe more like a broken off branch. It adds some interest to the overall thing. But let's do a few of those and then we'll get some small branches that will have leaves on them. So let's see. Here's a good place for one. Maybe here, maybe here. Just make them into kind of rounded little nubs so they don't look like a thorn so much. Unless you're painting roses, go ahead with that. That would be totally fine. Sort of pop them wherever I have a good spot. And now leaves. I'm going to put, right about here is a nice spot to put just a short little branch. Just have a leaf. Now a leaf is just kind of like you took an almond and stretched it. And if you wanted to, you could make a smaller leaf. But this is the time where it's mostly flowers on the tree and some of the leaves are just starting to form. Another spot that I have 1 or 2 leaves would be like right here. And then I do like to put some that you're just seeing from the side. So they're folded and we're just kind of seeing it from the side. So I did like a flat arch and then a big arch on the top. I'll do that one real quick so you can watch me paint that. Use a smaller brush if you want. There. So basically you can just continue with this branch shape like that. And then your leaf is just going to sort of curve out kind of dramatically. Like you just did this little branch with a rainbow sitting on it. Rainbow
Are they
shape.
having band practice next door?
No, I keep hearing like a bass.
It sounds like a bass guitar, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. And then anywhere else you want to tuck leaves. Like I feel like in my original I have one right here. That's kind of crowded. So I'm going to put one right here. That's just coming off the main stem. And I'm going to call it good. I feel like I've got enough stuff going on there. I'm going to wash my brush. That up a little bit. So far, so good. Freakishly weird flowers. They look strange right now, but it also, like, anyone looking at the painting can hopefully tell, like, what I'm shooting for. Yes, a branch with flowers and a moon in the background. And speaking of the moon, I am going to now mix a light blue. This should be dry. And if not, grab a hairdryer, blast it for like 15 to 30 seconds, and you'll be surprised. It'll dry so fast. So I'm going to pick up a little blue with my number 8, and then make a very pale pastel baby blue or blue, sky blue, really pale though. And then I'll dab my brush off, wipe it off on the paper towel or somewhere on your palette, just so that you have not a lot of paint on the brush. And I will zoom. Am I able to zoom in? No, I'm not able to zoom in. Hell, I taught a class earlier where I wasn't able to zoom in either. It was a recording for the recording we'll post.
That's actually kind of funny because
that's too white, so I'm gonna add some more blue back in. That is actually funny. I know what you're gonna say.
I brought the camera home so that she could film at home, and I left the remote here, and then leaving to come back, I left the camera at home and the remote is here. No, the funny thing was how quickly you reached over and grabbed the remote to zoom in.
So you can see I made a bit darker blue. I think I just went a little too far with the light color, but I will probably use some of the light color too. And again, as you're coating the moon, make sure that you leave some dark patches. Or you can paint them on later, and I can show you how to do that too. And remember, you can kind of haze out the edge here just by running your brush with no or next to no paint. Oh, we got a record player for Christmas. That was our family Christmas gift. Greta and I have been collecting LPs here and there that we'll find at like antique stores and garage sales. Well, we don't go to garage sales. I actually haven't seen a garage sale to go to. We will go to garage sales when there are some. But yeah, we finally bought one, and that's been pretty fun.
You know what we need?
For me, it's like nostalgia.
I gotta tell you, there's one LP we need to get. We need to get Dark Side of the Moon.
Okay.
Like we have to.
Yeah. Okay, so I've got let me do my professional zoom in here.
Especially since our first date was to Laser Floyd.
Yeah, exactly. So I've got a medium blue on there, and I'm not even going to wash my brush. I'll just wipe it off, and then I'll use some of that lighter blue, or you can just mix white back with that. And I'll put some of that on there in little chunks. That's the right technical term. Blotches. Sort of haze those out a bit so that I have some light patches in here. And if you've lost a lot of your dark areas, it would be the craters on the moon. Oh, I could bring some of those back. I love painting moons, so I don't mind spending some time on this. I would just take the tiniest little bit of dark blue, kind of spread it out on your palette so that you have very little on your brush, and come in and I think of this like, okay, there's this big crater that we see. What is it called? The Sea of, you know the name.
Tranquility.
Sea of Tranquility. I think of that. Okay, that's like it's like the Grand Canyon, honestly. You just are seeing the dark shape, and then there's some more patches over here. That has some other canyon of some kind. Make sure you get some close to the edge because it doesn't just like sit in the middle. It wraps all these craters wrap all around the moon. And then I might wipe my brush off and come back in with the tiniest bit of one of the lighter blues and sort of glaze over some of the edges so it's not so harsh. Or you can even glaze over the whole chunk of the dark blue you put on there, but make sure that you have very little paint on your brush so you're not just undoing what you just did. And I feel like that's good enough. I mean, it looks, hopefully it looks like the moon or like that I'm trying to paint a moon. I've done other moon paintings where I've spent a lot of time on them. This particular one I'm not going to because it's such a background object. It's there. I think my new one's a little darker. I can make the new one, I can make it lighter if I wanted to, but there's no reason to. Because it could be any color, really. You could do a red moon.
Or a pink moon. A pink
moon. But then it might just sort of get lost with all the magnolias.
No, I was quoting Nick Drake.
Okay.
You don't even know what I just said.
You were quoting Nick Drake. What are you talking about? Of course I know what
you were so quick with your okay. I thought you were just...
Now, while our stem outlines are drying, let's go ahead and paint some stars on there. Have a look at these. So those of you guys who have been painting with us for a while, we've done these and pretty much a lot of my paintings. I don't think Paul ever adds them to anything he does.
What?
Little smudgy stars.
Oh, I do sometimes.
I like them because they add a very magical, dream-like quality to this. And without, it'd be fine. It'd be fine if you just had the little single dots, but the hazy ones are just, they just kind of add that extra little bit of magic. So I'll show you how to do them, those of you who have not done them before. Now this is the important part that people miss in my live classes all the time. I have to repeat it over and over, and then I'll come over and they're still using the wrong end of the brush. We're going to use the handle end, and we're using it like a stamp. So you're going to poke it in your white paint, and maybe before you touch your canvas, dab it off a couple times on your palette, just so your first star, so you can kind of gauge an idea of how much paint do I need to have on this. If you have this red brush set, you usually don't have to stamp it off on your palette. It's pretty small anyway. So I'll do a few little dots, and now I'm going to show you how to make the glowing mystical stars. So I'll do one down here. I just stamp the dot. And then I use my finger. I use my middle finger because I won't put a whole lot of, like, as much pressure as I would with my pointer finger. And I just really lightly, I can barely, isn't that what it's called, the pointer finger?
Your index finger.
We always called it a pointer finger in school. That's funny.
You got two of them, so you got the pointer sisters.
And then I come back and I put a dot right in the middle. And you can dictate how big these are based on the first dot of paint you put on. So here I'll do a tiny one just by putting the tiniest little dot, smudge my finger around, and that's real small. And now I put a dot right back in the middle. And that one you can barely even tell that it's a glowing, smudgy star. This is a technique that once you have it practiced, it's kind of second nature. At first, a lot of times what I notice is people end up with opaque circles that don't have that hazy edge. And that's just getting used to how much pressure. So I find that, like, if I press really hard, it doesn't get as, like, big or hazy on the edges. You get more of an opaque circle.
And sometimes you get a donut.
Yes. But if you use super light pressure, like, I'm trying to compare it to something. Like your dog has something on its fur and you're going to try to wipe it off without waking the dog up.
Trying to get a little bit of chocolate off the baby's cheek.
Oh, yes. That's what we're trying to do. Yeah. Don't wake the baby. Just that little bit of whatever.
Little bit of pureed sweet potato.
And it's up to you how many of these you put on. Let's see, I did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I did 8 on the original. How many do I have? 1, 2, 3.
Man, I got like a dozen of them.
7. Any as you want. Wherever they seem like they would fit. Like if you have a nice open space like this right here. This one's going to be a little larger because my dot of paint was bigger. Right here. I feel like this is a pretty decent amount. And when it's all done, if it feels a little unbalanced and you feel like, oh, they're real heavy down here, then you can put some up in other areas. But now, the easy part, you just go through and you pepper your sky with lots of little dots. If you accidentally paint one of these on top of a flower petal, don't worry about it. Those are going to get covered
in the sky with Jenny.
And I love the look of having both because you've got tiny little stars, you've got these glowing stars.
You know what made me feel
It just looks like a place I want to be.
really good today?
What?
I was getting my hair cut. In the barbershop I go to, it's like almost got like a tattoo shop kind of vibe. Like all the dudes that work there are really heavily tatted and stuff. But they
It's a shop for bros.
it totally is. And the playlist they had on was kind of like more like classic rock, and then they changed it. And Daniel will appreciate this. The song "Good Vibrations" came on by the Beach Boys, and that just made me.
I was thinking Marky Mark.
Come on, feel the vibration.
It's such a good vibration.
It was the Beach Boys
good,
one.
Good,
And it's like you just don't hear that song in
vibration.
circulation very often when you're
So surfery.
Yeah, it was such a good feeling song.
Mm-hmm.
It made me
Gives
feel
you good
so happy.
vibrations.
Yeah.
Oh, so is that our next LP?
Pet Sounds? Is that the Pet Sounds LP? Daniel, help me out here, bro.
Oop. My cup stuck to that. Okay.
I'm feeling the good vibrations. Sorry.
Okay, so I have a good amount of stars in the background. I feel like that's about the amount that I want. And again, this is something you can always go back to. You can go back a week from now and be like, I really wish I had added more stars. And you can definitely do it then. Paintings are never finished, they're just abandoned, as my good friend Leonardo da Vinci used to say.
I thought you were going to say Leonardo DiCaprio.
Not Leonardo DiCaprio. Okay, let's go ahead and mix some fun colors. So looking at different photos of magnolias and knowing the one that's on our walk, that's right by our house around the corner, they range from white to the one by our house is a very, very, very deep magenta. It's actually really close to the color pulse. No, it's more purple than that. It's I've tried mixing the color before, and it's a very hard color to mix. And then you've got really pale pink, and you've got sort of something in between the magenta and the pale pink, and that's what I decided to go for. And I noticed a lot of them have the darker color at the bottom going into the lighter color at the top, and I thought that's pretty fun because it keeps these flowers from becoming too plain. And then the other thing they have is the petals have little veins in them that are like the pink ones have light pink have a little bit darker pink veins, and I thought, well, that's kind of fun. We can do that. So let's mix a color. I just have to remember what it is. It is purple. By mixing the red and blue, and this time it's a little more red than blue. I'm using my number 8 brush. Lovely color here. I love this color. It's kind of wine-like, only a little more purple, I guess.
All right, we just got the history of Good Vibrations.
Oh, okay. And then I'm going to take half of that and add some white to it. So you're going to get a blackberry yogurt color.
Thank you, Daniel. Now, which album would we need to buy then? Smiley Smile album.
So you're going to have your Merlot-ish color and then a blackberry yogurt color. And then we'll want to wash our brush and make just a plain old light pink with red and white. So no blue in it this time. And we may end up having to remix any of these. There we go. Maybe make that a little bit lighter. I like to have the color difference from the base of the flower to the tip of the petals be pretty dramatic. So you can see there's a big dramatic change between that. And then we got this guy right in the middle. All right. Well, I've got all this nice light pink on my brush, and I don't want it to go to waste. So I'm just going to start right up here. And this is where you can thin out your outlines if you want in some spots. You don't have to stick right with your outlines. We're just going to paint the upper part of the petals here. Letting our brush run out of the paint. And when I did the original, I did kind of change the shape of some of the petals at the top here and there if I wasn't super happy, and just planned on going back and re-outlining. I still have enough paint left over on my brush so that I could just move on to another one just to save the paint. Get frugal here. Painting about halfway down each petal. This is the one that I knew I was going to have to paint over that weird line that was left over. And now I am going to wash the brush so I can show you how to blend in the darker color. So go ahead and dip your brush in the really dark purple that we made. And that's going to come right out of the little bud that holds the flower to the branch. Using the thin edge of the brush, and see how I'm sort of feathering it up so you get that sort of jaggedy edge. Or feathery edge. It's not really jaggedy. And you can come up pretty close to that light pink. Let me do that on this one too real quick. You can sort of fan it out and have some parts come up a little higher than others. Some parts maybe even overlap into the light pink. What I'm doing is I'm leaving some room for that mid color, the blackberry yogurt color. So I'll wash the brush real quick. Just give it a quick little loose rinse. It doesn't have, you don't have to get every last bit of paint off. And now I'm going to use the same technique, that sort of feathery. And I'm brushing down and up. See how you get the blended tones. You have to work kind of quick because we don't want the paint to dry too much. It will. It's starting to dry a lot. So I overlap the dark and overlap the light with that mid-tone.
I think the 3D printer's done.
So I am always using the thin edge of the brush. Up. Brushing up and down. And yeah, those look how I like them. They're a little bit more purple. You can see the original ones were a little more red. So if you prefer having more of a reddish, all you would do is put a little more red into this. And maybe even a touch of white. I'll show you what that would look like. I can do some on here that are different. They don't all have to be the exact perfect same shade. So you put a little more red in that.
That was my chair, by the way.
And just a touch of white just for a little opacity. Maybe a little more red. So you can see the difference. We have Merlot blackberry smoothie, and this is raspberry smoothie. And then cotton candy. Let me... Why did I wipe that off? Okay, I'm going to do this one, that color. So I'll start right here at the base. And I'm kind of going in reverse. Last time I know I painted the light color first. Doesn't matter what steps you do first. This guy back here, the one's tucked in the back, I'm going to paint a slightly different color. Set them apart a bit. Tricky right through here. And now I'll pick up my mid-tone color. My blackberry smoothie. Blend those together. And this is something you can always keep going back to. Like as you work your way across, maybe you want to come back to this one, and maybe you decide, you know, I really like that extra red in there, this color. I could come back in, and this is what I did when I painted my original. I came back in and kept adding to them until I got them to be the tone that I liked. And they weren't all exactly the same. But see, yeah, I can come back here and... I haven't done the veins yet. This is just the blending. So the veins we'll do later. As it is, I kind of like the Merlot color this time. But I think having a combo of the two is rockin'. Mother Nature is slaying these flowers. Okay. Now this little bud, kind of the same thing. I will get these in a second. I'm deciding in my head right now what colors I want to do. This little guy, kind of the same thing. I'll paint some light. You can even, like, I could bring it all the way down if I wanted to. And then wipe my brush off. I don't need to wash it. And then I'll use one of my darker colors. Come up from the bottom. Let the two colors sort of blend together on your brush. And then paint this one, what you have left on your brush. So you can see I've got kind of a highlight there, which technically you would have with the moonlight. And I think those background ones. I think darker is what I'm leaning towards, so maybe I'll do this Merlot color back here. Using the thin edge of my brush just to get right down in there. And you will end up overlapping some of your outlines, which is a good thing because some of them maybe are kind of thick and thin them out just a bit. And I could take and streak some lighter pink in there just a little. Okay, that was too much. So they're not just solid dark. Yeah. All right. I need to make some more cotton candy pink. Red and white. The exact same shade, or it can be a little more white in it or a little more red in it. Doesn't matter. I do like the light pink at the top. I think it's very pretty. I can't unsee this one as a crab claw. And these are tulips. I can't unsee those as tulips. Every once in a while, you might overlap your outline like I did here, and I will just go back and re-outline that later. Wipe the brush off. Go with my dark Merlot. And then my blackberry smoothie mid-tone color. See how I'm sort of forcing the two colors to meet with this middle color. Makes a nice blend that I really love.
That was my chair again. I got a squeaky one.
Moving around a lot. That's what it is. And maybe on this one, I'll use a darker reddish Merlot. Is that next door? Brrr, brrr. I don't know if you guys can hear it. Probably not.
Can't. Yeah. I don't think it's music, but it kind of sounds like Metallica's one a little bit, but it's not.
Sometimes you can come up the side too, like especially in the areas that face away from the moonlight. And then I'll pick a thing in the middle, maybe my blackberry smoothie color. I'm going to try with this one making the background petals the same blend. Let's see how that looks. Wasn't super thrilled with that one. My fave, but it's not like right jumping out at me, so that's okay. Don't feel like I have to do anything to it really. We'll see. Maybe tomorrow I'll feel differently.
Probably.
We taught a couple live classes recently. That was fun. Let's see, what did I teach last? You stayed home with Greta because Greta had her wisdom teeth out.
It was Trillium Lake.
Yeah, that was pretty fun. I had a full class. So there were 15 people there. Can't fit any more than that in the space. And there was a big play going on in the same building, just in this is a big theater building that's new. Like it's only like, I don't know, 6 years old.
10.
Oh, is it that old?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. And it has big auditorium and then some classrooms. So I was in one of the classrooms. And
My chair again.
so yeah, there was a play going on at the same time.
Something Rotten.
Called Something Rotten. So I'm going to use my mid-tone color
Are we
now.
going to go see that tomorrow?
I don't know yet. I haven't decided. It seems like it's really long. Because we were finishing up our painting class at just after 9, like 10 minutes after 9. And some of our friends came in who were going to the show. They saw us in there teaching and popped in. And I said, "Oh, done for the show over?" And he's like, "No, it's intermission." It's like 9 something. So I remember thinking about my moonlight here, that this side of the petals might be a little darker with that mid-tone color I mix, so it makes a nice shading. And I'll do that with a lot of these. A lot of them need a second dose of paint anyway. And I do feel like as I've gotten more color on the flowers, that the moon kind of wants to be a little bit lighter. Hippie canvas. We get our canvases from Michael's, and lately some of them have been coming in with like the deal with them, but they're really hippie. Which, if you frame it and put it on a wall, it's probably nothing that would ever be noticed. But when you're painting flat, hard. So again, I'm just coming in and sort of putting a slightly darker color on the areas that would be away from the moonlight. Just to play around with that light and shadow thing. And as my lightest pink dried, I feel like it could use a second coat in some spots just to brighten things up. I got all the flowers. So I'm going to make a little more cotton candy color, just red and white. Maybe a tiny bit more white just to ultra highlight. What? Lighter. I wiped my brush off because it had a blob of paint from mixing. And then I'll come in, and maybe this is a good one to start with way down here. Oh yeah, I like that. Look at that drama. I am using the thin edge of my brush a lot of times to come in here and get, that's how you get that sort of stripey look. Which we'll come back and we'll add some of the flower veins in too. I almost don't need to because of the way these turned out, but I do want to because some of them go all the way to, actually most of them go all the way to the top of the petal itself. This one's so close to the moon, it would have a nice bright area there. What are you teaching us next week, Paul? It's
painting.
Thursday.
A painting.
What is it going to be?
Haven't decided yet.
Late to the game.
I've been extraordinarily busy.
What, you think studying Shakespeare and having to repeat it without looking at a book is busy?
That and new product launch. Birthday.
What do you guys want to see from Paul? How about that? Let's just ask that. He does a lot of mountains and things like that. You haven't done a waterfall in a while. A year, maybe?
I don't remember.
It was the Towering Falls, or no, not that. Is that what it was? I can't remember. Towering Falls was quite a while ago.
Yeah, that was a long time ago. A couple years ago.
That one popped up in my computer today. But it seems like you did a different waterfall. Let's see, last year you did Winter Shimmer around this time? Or Crocus Pocus?
Crocus Pocus?
Crocus Pocus, I think, was February.
Yeah. I think it was Winter Shimmer. What did I just do in December? I can't remember.
Can't remember December. Let's see. It's right behind us. It was the long shadow one.
Oh, that's right.
I'm going to come in now. Now that I've added the extra light in there, I feel like I want to... Actually, now is a great time to add the veins. So we can add a dose of darker color again and some of the veins that go through. So I made another sort of Merlot color. A little redder than that. And you can use your little brush or your number 8 or your number 4, but if you use any of these flat brushes, you want to turn it and use the thin edge of the brush. That's my favorite way. I feel like the little tiny brush is great, but it runs out of paint pretty fast. Let's try one with it.
I was going to
can't read. You don't
I
have your red
can't.
glasses on. Okay.
I don't have any
Gonna
right
check out.
glasses.
Love this painting. Gonna try and do it this weekend. Hopefully Sunday. Got babysitting duty for our grandbaby tomorrow, so unlikely I'll have the energy once he goes home. You have a great weekend too. Good to see you on here. I know it's pretty late there. Have fun with your grandbaby. That's fun. All right, so I'll take my littlest brush, mix a little water with the paint color.
Crater Lake.
Oh, that's a good idea. And then I hold it kind of far back.
Alien ships in the background.
Yeah, that would go with the times. We've got all those drones.
Why not? You know, those disappeared. Like nobody hears about the drones anymore.
Well, we had a lot of other big things happen. So I'm using. I feel like this color could be a little bit lighter. I might just swirl some of my light pink into it because it is pretty dark. We do want it to be darker than the flower petal so it stands out. And you can make these. So looking at some photos and stuff, you can draw your flower veins. Like let's say this is my flower petal. You can do some that stripe, but I want to angle them too so that they're not just all up and down. And then also sometimes I'll branch off of these. That is how they are.
They're like
almost
butterfly
like
wings.
Yeah, or like a leaf. It's almost like you're drawing a tree inside of it. So I think about that as I work along. I might do the first one that goes from the middle of the leaf up. Middle of the leaf up, and then from there, I might branch off of that one, and then maybe I do off of it, and they can crisscross over each other. I try not to do that too much because it can get kind of chaotic. So you did those with my little brush. Let's see what it looks like when I use a bigger brush. Light pressure. Maybe have a little water mixed with your paint. So personally, I prefer painting with this one. You might like the look of the littler brush better, though. So you decide. And honestly, whatever feels the goodest, whatever feels best in your hand, go with that. The one that says, "It's me."
Hi.
That's what popped into my head too. I feel like my brushes are almost to the point I need to say bye-bye to them because they're pretty frayed. I need to turn them over to you, Paul, since you like the frayed ones.
I just don't really care. I can get the brushes to do what I want them to do. Listen here, see? We're going to put a straight line here, see?
Oh, that one's really frayed.
You want to sound like old times, see?
Go back
Just
to
in
my
every
little
sentence
brush.
you see?
Jimmy.
Well, that's not always the case.
Okay, that's enough. So the other color you can do these with is white. Let's see what white looks like. Just to be different.
Gotta be stupid. Remember that?
Yes, of course. Let's see, I'll do this one with white. So here's what white looks like. It's more subtle on mine because I have...
Yeah, I'm not digging the...
it looks pretty. I have a lot of really light. I'm all about making them different. Some of these I don't love. I don't love this one. But I'm also being very judgy about it. Oh, I know. I missed that. One petal, which I need to go back to. We introduced Greta to In Excess Kick.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Lord of the Rings.
Well, that too. Yeah, Greta had, wisdom teeth surgery, but We did watch once Christmas hit, starting I think the day after New Year's or maybe New Year's Day.
Eve. New Year's Eve.
Was it New Year's Eve?
Yeah, we watched the first Fellowship of the Ring.
And we've been trying to get Greta to watch it forever, but there's always like some reason it's so long. And
oh my gosh,
Greta is obsessed now. We watched all of them and then all 3 Hobbit movies, and then Greta started watching
the extended cuts.
The extended cuts, the ones that are like 3 to 4 hours long. So Greta got bit by the Lord of the Rings bug.
Then went out and bought the books.
Yep.
Even though we had copies of the books, they wanted their own.
Mm-hmm. Just adding some more of the darker ones in here just to have both. But yeah, we also put on some old MTV videos of Bess.
One of my favorites.
Kind of fun to like show your kid, like, this is what I listened to in 7th grade or whatever grade it was.
Greta's like, they just don't make men like that anymore. He's so beautiful.
Yep. He was. He had epic, amazing hair.
I hear a chopper.
Yeah. Oh, watch it.
You better watch yourself, Shooter.
And then you want to go back and add more of the base color of the flower in there anytime. That color you like. You make it come in and deepen any of these shades, honestly. I do really like more than I thought I would. Because it's one of those ones when you first get it done, you're like, oh, are people going to think this is like simple or too sloppy outlined?
But you know what? This one can be all of those things and not all of those things at the same time. Like, you can make it simple. You can make it complicated. You can make it outliney. You don't have to make it outliney.
Yeah, like what I'm doing now is I'm kind of deepening some of the shadows, and then I also had added some more bright highlights, which is not necessarily so much on the original, but I really like it a lot with the deeper tones mixed in there with the lighter ones just for contrast. Especially thinking about the light from the moon. Petals that are close to the moon having light, and the ones further from the moon are going to have darker colors. And it's such an easy painting that you can do in a short amount of time, so you have time to play around.
Never call any painting easy.
Yeah, true.
All have their own unique challenges.
So one thing I did with the original, I came back in with just a final small swoop of white. Not a lot of paint on the brush. And it's just on some of these petals just to give them like a little glimmer and shimmer as they're highlighted from the moon, which again, I am going to lighten my moon a bit. I'm not super happy with the color it is. It's fine, but I don't love it. So I'm going to play around with it in a minute. But to do that white, you want to use probably one of your number 4, number 8, one of your flat brushes. Dip it in white, kind of flick off some of the paint onto your palette. And then, like, I would come right through here. Maybe I took off too much paint. Right through here and do a little swoop. Maybe 1 or 2. You can See the difference compared to like this one. And it's something you can build on. Like I can add a little more and see what does it look like with a little more. Well, it just ups the drama. One would probably be lit up top. And yeah, you'll just sometimes paint right over some of the parts of the flower veins when you do this, so don't worry about that. Crab claw. Yeah. There we go. I think I got all the flowers with a nice little bit of bright highlight. Pretty, I like that. Oh, don't need to wash the white off my brush because I'm going to use it to lighten. Light. So I don't want a lot of paint on the brush. If you're going to lighten the moon on yours too, you might like it blue. This is not like a, oh, this is better than that or anything. It's for me, it's like my preference. Like I usually will make a brighter moon, so it feels weird to me to leave it so dark. So I'm just bringing in some white, choppy brush strokes at first just to get the excess paint off my brush. But see how I'm purposely leaving dark parts? You can even use your finger if you want to get messy.
Remember I developed that whole painting that was finger painting?
What's it of?
I don't even remember. But we were just like, it was like, yeah, this will be fun. This will be fun. And I was like, oh my gosh, the having to clean up after 30 people finger painting. We didn't do it, the painting. We just thought to ourselves.
Oh, okay.
I
don't really remember.
Part of that conversation.
There. So I like the moon being a little bit lighter and brighter. Adding more and more. Pretty soon I'm going to have a solid white moon. And it's getting bigger and bigger. Ah, it's overtaking the painting. Now I need to add dark spots back in a little. My sea of tranquility disappeared.
My chair.
Just keep saying that.
You would know if it wasn't.
Yes, I would. Okay, I'm not going to fuss with that moon much anymore. I almost said anymore, but I looked at him like much anymore. I need to add some more. I'm gonna apparently fuss with it for a bit. Oh, I'm gonna stop. It'll do. It'll do. Matches like the rest of the painting is not realistic. So
it's just an extra.
Yep.
Not the star of the show. Well, I mean, I guess it's closest to being the star of the show, but
leaf time. We're actually almost done. So we'll get these bright green leaves on, and then one by one we'll go back and add the little veins to the leaves, which are a little more delicate than what's in the flowers. Let's look at my flower color difference. Definitely more dramatic contrast on the new one, which I like that a lot. Dark, having the dark in there. This one has like prettier, maybe prettier shades of pink, but I like the drama that the new one has.
I don't want to hear about drama.
So this is a kind of a key limey color. Margarita, that's what it is. I knew you were going to say that. Okay, so let's wash off one of your flat brushes, probably. I'm going to use my number 8. Here's what my paper towel looks like now. It's a work of art itself. Pretty colors. And we need to mix yellow and just a little bit of blue. The blue is going to change that right away. You can see already it's very, very green. And I probably will add just a tiny bit of white just for the, not to necessarily lighten it too much, but to give it some opacity. That's about right. I'll just come through and, again, use whatever brush feels right for you. Like some of your leaves might be really tiny and you want to use a small brush. Just going through and putting a second coat on. My first coat was really thin, so the second coat is sticking. Thankfully. I like having this color on here. All the blues and purples. Nice. While those are drying, I am going to go back and I had a couple of flower petals I needed to re-outline. So that was, if you need your outline color again, it was deep violet, so blue and red. And a little black. And you probably could get away with just mixing blue and black. This sort of, the black sort of overpowers everything. But I'll just come through and any spots that have sort of disappeared. You can add more, this is where you could add more leaves if you wanted to, or more little thorny areas, whatever those are.
Aren't they leaf buds?
It could be. Broken off branches. Mainly right now I'm just kind of touching up. I don't want to really re-outline a bunch of stuff because I like some of the areas where the outline got thinner and then how it has, like here, we've got kind of a thicker outline here and then it gets real thin and it's maybe thicker again. Cold in here.
Well, the furnace isn't on.
Okay. How much is your heating bill here every month? Do you even know?
Not much.
Oh, that's good. Everybody's heating bills in Oregon are so crazy high. It's highway robbery. Oh, yeah.
Well, if we didn't leave our back door wide open and have our gas fireplace on at the same time.
We don't do that. So we have our younger dog who's 4. She likes to just sit. She'll be sitting by the back door, and I'll open the back door for her to go out, and she just wants to sit there. She doesn't want to go out. She just wants to have fresh air. And meanwhile, it's like, girl, it's like 39 degrees out. Okay. Rubbing my hands together for warmth.
Making farty noises.
Let's get the veins painted in the leaves, and you can use dark blue, or you can use I'm just going to use this blue and black and red color. Maybe add a little more blue in there, because it's a pretty blue outline. It matches the tree outline. So I want to use my smallest brush, mix a tiny bit of water in the paint. Wipe your brush off and knock off all the paint on your paper towel, and then redip the tip of the bristles. So we have just a tiny bit. And we're going to go right down the center. My paint might be too wet. I'm holding back on the brush a little further so that I am not tempted to press super hard. I want a nice thin line here. And if you goof up and you do a nice thick line, just let it dry and paint the green over the top and redo it. If you don't like it. Maybe you like it with a thicker line. I mean, I don't really know that one way's right and one way's wrong with this paint. And in this one, we're looking at it from the side. So we don't have to putting a vein in that one, but we are going to put some little veins in it. In fact, I'll do that real quick. So they're just going to go, starting here, to just go up at an angle. Again, just hold the brush further back. Barely drag it on there. Having the water mixed with your paint is going to help a lot. So that leaf, we're just looking at these diagonal lines. And then these leaves, turn your canvas as you need it to reach comfortably. I just go, either you go out from the center vein or inward from the outside, whatever feels best for your wrist. Got a star on top of my leaf here. Pulling from the outside edge seems to work pretty good for me. My bristles of my brush are barely bending at all. That's how I know I'm using super light pressure.
I done
too. I'm gonna sign it, and I have some green left, so I think that's a good color to use. Other things you could do, you could highlight your branches. Like you could come in with some of the Moonlit blue and a little brush and add some highlights here and there. Up to you, but that's definitely something that would look good. Another thing you could do is you could add just a tiny bit of green on your littlest brush. And I don't want a lot because I don't want it to be too in your face. You can brush some green on these little flower holders, whatever they're called. I can't remember their scientific name. I want to say it starts with a C, but it could be completely wrong. But it's nice to add a little green there because they actually are green. Looking at photos anyway. You are ready to sign it. Littlest brush with some slightly watered down paint is good. And just pick where you want to put your signature. Barely shows up. Forgot to sign the original. But I really like it. I like the changes that were made. Some of the things, like I like the green on these. Oh, calyx. That's what it's called. Right. Got some of these calyxes. Calyxi. All right, let's check out Paul's. Drum roll. Oh, very nice. And you had to rush that background. What did you do there? Look at the moon.
I did something completely different that I've never done before.
What's that?
I don't know. No, I just did lots of...
Figure it out. It's kind of lacy.
I did, yeah, that's what I did. It was kind of like a little lacy kind of pattern.
Thanks, Daniel.
I went with like...
Admit it, mine's a little bit better.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
I tried to go with like more of a chunky, like choppy kind of vibe.
I like the moon on yours a lot. And I like the background purplish colors. It makes it look like there's more.
That's what I was trying to make it look like.
Like there's not just the one. You know, that's what takes it away from being like basic painting. Add that extra extra bit in the background that looks like there's more to this tree. It's just blurred out because our lens of our eye is focusing on this.
Yeah, I like the way I did that. The moon. That, like I said, that was something that was a new idea, new technique. And
okay, so we're getting a moon painting next month.
We might be.
I mean, this next weekend.
Maybe.
Next week, our live stream is going to be. In fact, you can bring us back now, Paul. Next live stream is actually going to be Thursday because we have a live painting class on Friday at Art Center.
I don't know how we ever actually find time to sleep.
I don't know. It's just our weekends tend to be busy. But your Soft Winter Sky is what you're teaching, which we did. That's what we did last year.
Sky, which one's that one?
It's a lot of pinks, very small landscape at the bottom, and I had painted AT-AT walkers on mine. Okay. Do you remember? No?
No.
Oh my
I kind of do.
It's in that pile over there.
They're starting to all kind of blur together at this point. I mean, we've been doing this
Daniel
now.
likes your haircut. I see you're catching up to me, though. Yeah, he's...
You should have seen it before. I mean, I hadn't had my haircut since October.
Yeah.
I was like almost mullety, and I would have stuck with it, but it doesn't look good with my hair being as thin as it is on top.
You are like you're getting kind of thin up there.
Well, I mean, I do turn 50 next month, so.
And I turn 25. Isn't that great? How is such an age difference?
I must have been a real sick pervert.
Okay. Okay, well, we are going to end this now and hope you guys have a great rest of your weekend and a great this week following, and we'll see you Thursday. I think it's the 30th.
It's amazing how far behind stream is. I don't know. Well. Yeah.
I'm going to grow out my hairline, and that length of hair was really not going to come out.
Kind of a little crypt keeper-ish.
That's right, yeah, the crypt keeper.
But I mean, that's the same boat I'm in. I just instant science teacher.
It makes you look smart and distinguished, right?
Yeah. So.
Okay, let's sign off.
Let's do that.
Plan on meeting here next Thursday.
Next Thursday
5:30
for
PST.
Something lacy.
Yeah, I'll get it emailed out and put on our Facebook page.
I'll get it painted.
You get it painted.
All right, guys.
Please do that before
I
get it emailed out.
Yeah. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. We will see you next week, and have a good evening.
Bye.
Bye.
That was weird. It's so far